The key to successfully being a nomad capitalist is diversification. Moving is not diversification. Simply going from one country to another is not internationalization. What is internationalization is you go out and you get a bank account somewhere, and then you go somewhere else and you start a company. You go somewhere else, maybe you buy a property. Each time you do one of those things, you're planting a flag. And there is a strategy of planting flags all around the world so that no matter what happens, you are not only protected, but you will thrive. I'm going to share 6 flags that everyone should consider planting in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and the idea of flag theory, the idea of planting flags all over, has been around for decades, back in the era when the world was a far less transparent place, and the only people who could really theoretically afford to do it were those who wore these Hugh Hefner-style smoking jackets and cruised around the world on their yachts. But now, not only are governments sharing more information and the need to do things legally is more important than ever, but this is much more accessible to the average person. You can take a cheap flight and go and open a bank account. You can go and find a myriad of places where you can invest or start a company. It's much easier now than it used to be, but you have to check all the boxes. So I'm going to go through 6 flags that everyone should plant to live this kind of perpetual traveler lifestyle. I think what you'll find is there will be more than 6 that you will want to pick. You will have your own specific flags that are unique to you, but these are 6 that apply to everyone in general. Now, the first flag to consider is your citizenship. Namely, where are you a citizen? This is important. If you're a U.S. citizen, that means that you have an obligation not only to file and pay taxes on your worldwide income. There are tax strategies to greatly reduce the amount of tax you pay, but you're always going to be filing, and you're probably always going to be paying something if you're pretty successful. It may just be a lot less. However, you may want to get a second citizenship. You may not want to be a U.S. citizen. You may want to just acknowledge, okay, I'm Canadian or I'm Australian. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means you've got a travel document that allows you to travel around the world. But we strongly encourage everyone to have a second passport, because who knows what could happen, both from a tax point of view, from a reputation point of view for your country. There may come a time when there's a war and people don't like the Americans. I guess that time already exists. But we cover this in what I call our Nomad Passport Index. We put this out every year, and we talk about which are the world's best passports. Chances are your passport doesn't rank as highly as you think, and so having a second passport is a good strategy. The second strategy, the second flag you should plant, is a residence strategy. Where are you able to live? And separate from that, where are you a tax resident? Where is your income taxed? This would generally be a country where there's no income tax, or it's what's called territorial tax, or there's some kind of tax exclusion to where you can go out and be a resident of this country and then use that as your tax home. Now, this has become a lot more strict in recent years. Governments are cracking down, and as are banks, on people who are simply saying they live somewhere and claiming they pay tax there. So you actually need to go through the motions. It's not simply enough just to get a piece of paper and then go back to living in a high tax country. You actually want it to be legitimate. But having a residence and having a tax residence is very important. The third flag you want to plant is your asset haven. Where are your assets stored? I share in my video where I talk about what I call the global citizen sandwich. The idea that I might want to live in Malaysia as my Asian home, but the asset haven that's number one in Asia and potentially even the world is Singapore. And so if you have enough money, the numbers have certainly gone up, but if you have enough money, you can go and open a bank account in Singapore as a non-resident, as a non-citizen. You can just go and you can plug into their system. There are other asset havens. There are some that are easier, there are some that are harder. Switzerland is one that people know about. It's rather difficult, rather expensive. There are emerging asset havens. Many people wouldn't understand or imagine that Lebanon is a place that is an asset haven for a lot of people, because they've got some pretty decent banks. But have an asset haven when you're where your money is. You don't want to keep all of your money in the same country you live, the same country you're a citizen, the same country where you're spending your time. The fourth flag is your business base. This is where you form your company. And so this is easier than ever because so many people have companies that live in the cloud. They are location independent. You're doing drop shipping, you're selling stuff on Amazon, you're doing consulting, you're selling an ebook. Again, there are more regulations coming up with digital taxation. There's VAT on certain kinds of products in Europe, for example. So there's little things you're going to want to consider, but where your business is based will help you score the big win of choosing where you want to be taxed. The US, Australia, Canada, these are not great places to be taxed. And so if your business lives in the cloud and you're willing to follow this plan, you can greatly reduce the tax that you're going to pay by structuring your business in a business-friendly place. That may also be a place that protects your assets better. People have long gone to Nevis and set up Nevis LLCs to get asset protection where someone has to literally put up a bond if they want to sue you. Now, the challenge in today's highly transparent world is that you're going to have trouble getting a bank account, or at least a really good bank account for a Nevis LLC in many cases. And so the best asset protection, in my opinion, is a running business that's able to operate and collect money. But you may be looking at other criteria. You may be looking at, where can I hire people in my business base? Maybe you have multiple business flags where one is where you have your staff and you're going to a place where they've got great laws for hiring people and you can get a great team of people to work for you. And then you've got an operating base. Some people, not that many, but sometimes we see people, they want a separate business base for storing things like intellectual property. So the business flag could be one for a simple business. It could be numerous. The fifth flag is what was always called the playground. This is where you like to spend your time. And so what's interesting for me is working with hundreds of folks over the last couple of years and seeing how people want to spend their time. For some people, that is wanting to be constantly on the move. But as I work with wealthier and wealthier people, I see people who say, I don't really want to be traveling that much. I just want to have one or two playgrounds, maybe three. And those are the places where I call home. So for me in the summer, I'm going to go to Montenegro. That's a playground. That's a place where I want to physically spend time. I have a residence permit in Montenegro. I'm allowed to be there as much as I want, but I like to be there in the summer. And so that's not really fulfilling the second flag as much as it is fulfilling this fifth flag. Where do you physically want to be? And so the sixth flag that you should consider in the modern era is the online flag, the digital flag, okay? Where is your website hosted? Where is your email hosted? Now, I'm not a super duper privacy geek. I don't really get into that the way some people do, but I do think it's important to take some basic precautions. I think having precautions, having a backup plan, having files stored in a country where there's higher data privacy, where they're going to be more protective. If you run a business that is controversial, going and hosting your website in a place like Iceland where they're really into freedom of speech and they're not just going to take you down at the drop of a hat, that can be beneficial, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because a lot of people in today's world just don't like controversy. And so for your own protection and for your own redundancies, having digital flags are very important. There are other flags that will apply to many people. I talk about the social flag as kind of the seventh flag. Where are your friends? Where do you want to hang out with people? Where are they from? If you're dating, where are you dating and from where are they from? Where do you feel comfortable? Okay, that's a thing that when I first started traveling, I realized that I felt more comfortable overseas than I did in the US. And so my social flags started to get planted all around the world outside of the United States. There are other flags that you're going to plant as you do this, but those are the six that I would start with. And as you go, then you can start getting into some of the more existential questions, some of the more lifestyle-oriented questions. But for purposes of tax, asset protection, lifestyle, and general diversification, those are six that you should definitely start with. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.